Hello and welcome to the Business Growth Show, where we talk about all components of business and how to utilize them for exponential growth. My name is Nathan Cassiotis. I'm a business growth expert who helps business owners grow and scale to create wealth and freedom. Today, I have an awesome guest. His name is Clifford Starks. Clifford was once a pro athlete and even fought in the UFC cage. Now, he helps people like you get in your life and your business so you can live the life you've always dreamed of. He is the guide who will never give up on you, turning tough times into opportunities. And Clifford wants you to shatter any doubts about how badass you are. He's here to be your coach and guide as we remove obstacles and have you live up to your full potential. Welcome, Clifford Starks, and thank you for being on my show.
Hey, thank you for having me. I appreciate it. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, awesome, mate. I'm sure it's going to be a great show for everyone watching and listening today. So you're a successful entrepreneur. So for those people who don't know who you are, just please introduce yourself by telling us a bit more about you and your journey.
Yeah. So I went from the cage to the stage. I fought in the UFC and fought in Bellator and made the transition to entrepreneurship. And when I made the transition, it was quite a bit harder than I thought. And for some strange reason, that always tends to happen with me. I try to eat the elephant all at once, and then I kind of regurgitate, and I start learning the lessons, and I start eating it one bite at a time, and I get better as I go through the journey. And I kind of learned the lessons because I did this as I was an overweight kid, ended up losing the weight. Same story. I got into athletics, high level athletics, same story. And then I got into entrepreneurship, same story. And I love personal development. As we were talking recently, you like growth. I love growth too. And I'm constantly looking to grow as I go through this journey. And there's always something new to learn as you go through it too. So I just have a lot of fun. I ride the waves as high as I can, and I support others in doing the same.
Yeah, awesome, man. Love it. And yeah, I think it's great that you've transitioned as well, because I know a lot of people don't think about that in any sort of sporting element about what they do. And there's always these challenges. And yeah, let's touch a little bit on this, right? Because I think not many people have gone to be a pro athlete and even fought like in the UFC cage as well. So what are some of the things you learned from these experiences that I guess you're bringing into what you do today?
Um, Life's a game of inches, and you're constantly looking to collect the inches as you go through your journey. And you get better at collecting the inches when you step into the cage. Like nothing teaches you faster than pain. It really it's a great feedback for what not to do and what to do. And so when I went from fighting to entrepreneurship, I saw very similar lessons like, oh, this is a game of feedback loops. If we know what to look for, if we're aware, we can get to where we're looking to go. But if we don't know what to look for, it gets kind of difficult. Now, we clearly know getting punched in the face, like we instinctually know that's not a good thing. But as an entrepreneur, there were things I was doing incorrectly and I didn't know what I was doing. You don't know what you don't know until you start learning and going, oh crap, I'm messing up here. And oh crap, I'm messing up over here. Oh, I got to do more of this. Oh, I got to put this in place a little bit more. And when I started putting the putting it together as, oh, it's the same thing, it's just a different arena, it started making the process easier and start to run smoother as well.
Yeah, awesome. I love that. And having the right strategies and putting into plan and adjusting, right, along the journey and getting better over time, which yeah, definitely some great traits as an entrepreneur for everyone, that's doing it, that we can learn from sport as well. So I love all of that. So I know you're big on the mind, heart, and skills of a leader, and that's what we're going to focus on more today is being great leaders. And let's focus more on the mind initially here. So let's first talk about mindset, because I think mindset is really important for anybody in terms of what they do. So in terms of leadership, so what mindset do you see as essential, I guess, for having effective leadership?
Yeah, so I start with clarity, confidence, and commitment, because I feel when people have those three things in place, they at least know where they're going, like they know their North Star. And to get clear, sometimes you just have to start with asking what you don't want, because sometimes you don't even know what you want. So if you don't know what you want, well, let's at least start with what you don't want, and then you start listing that, and you go, okay, well, do you kind of know what you want now? And the questions that we ask make it easier and easier for people, because we at times don't even know what we're good at, because we're so good at it we don't even think of it as a skill or a gift. And it's like, yeah, that's a gift, that's a gift, that's a gift. You just do it so naturally you don't even think about it. So getting really, really clear in that aspect, and when you're clear you can get confident. When you know what you're good at, then you can start moving towards that thing, and that confidence will build. And then the third piece, commitment. Now, what was always interesting about commitment, 9% of people finish their resolutions. And a resolution is nothing more than a set determined, I'm either going to do this or I'm not going to do this. And I go, why is only 9% finishing their resolutions? Like, what's going on with that? And I think there's something off with the clarity and the confidence. So they can't even, they can't focus on the commitment until they have those two pieces in place. And that's where I go in mindset. Like, if I told a person, hey, put a blindfold on and I just want you to start driving, no one would feel confident enough or committed enough to step on that gas. Like, they're just not going to do it. And so when you take them through those phases, the mind opens up to new possibilities and says, oh, well, maybe I can do this.
Yeah, awesome. I love that. And yeah, they all work really well together. But I think, yeah, the commitment is really key there. And, just a side note about podcasts is that I think it's less than 1% of podcasts get to episode 20, right? And I'm up to episode 200 now. I don't even know what minor percentage that is, right? And it's because I committed from the start. And I think most people don't commit enough, like you're talking about leaders in business, right? Like you need to be really committed to what the outcome is. And that's where you really get the results. And I think that, that flows through well into challenges, right? Because there's always going to be challenges that pop up, right? In setbacks, whether it's like, in sport, like you did before, or as a leader in business, there's always going to be things that are popping up. So, the commitment helps us through that. But I guess you need some mental resilience, right? Like to be able to get through that, because it's like you're getting hit down, you got to get back up, right? In that way there. So how do you think we can create, I guess, this mental resilience in the face of, challenges and setbacks that come on our journey?
Brutal honesty, and also being around the right guides. Like, your guides are going to call you out, and sometimes they'll do it in a nice way, and sometimes they'll do it in not such a nice way. You got to figure out what works for you, though. And it's important to take it in and then put in the necessary reps. As you said, you were committed to what you did. And yeah, I didn't even know, like, most people don't even commit to reading past 17 pages in a book. And that's not to mess with anyone in any ways, but it's just to say, like, this is how lazy that we can be if we allow our mind to get in the way. And part of it is we don't really like getting called out too much. Like, it's like, that kind of stung. Oh, that kind of sucks. And I say, go embrace it. Go have fun with it. Let people tell you what you're doing right, what you're doing wrong, and then celebrate those opportunities, because that's all they are, is opportunities for you to get better.
Yeah, I love that. And one thing I'll add about myself is that I think for anybody is thinking many moves ahead, right, in what you do, because it's like, well, if I'm going to commit, how do I make it as easy as possible for me to commit to it? Because then and then you're starting to think a little bit better, right, future wise as well, so that it's not too hard. It's not like you're committing to the whole elephant like you were talking about before, right? Initially, it's like, how can we break it down and make it easy for us to move forward through the commitment, right? Love it. So with I guess you talked a lot about clarity there, and I think focus is a big one here, right? Because you may have the clarity and the commitment and the confidence, but there's a lot of things that can come up, right, throughout the day. How do you think that we can maintain our focus and clarity when we've got a lot of demands on our, on our time and attention as well.
Yeah, so that's the piece. So I talk about having the game plan in place, knowing what you're doing and knowing what steps you're doing and why you're doing them. And also not to get bogged down by too many steps too. I've been going through my process and I notice my brain likes things very, very simple. And then I realized, like, wait a minute, I think everyone's brain likes very, very simple. I think sometimes we get into this place of like, I got to make it complex because if it's complex, then I'm a really smart person. And it's like, not really. Like, if you don't make it simple enough for other people to follow, well, then you're stuck and you can't do anything with it. And that goes back to that leadership is the things that you're doing also have to be able to be delegated to other people if you wanted to. Because if you're creating a business, you don't want to create a jail cell for yourself. You want to create a business that produces for you so you can walk away and it's still producing.
Yeah, definitely. Completely agree with that. And let's talk a bit about stress and burnout, because I think this is important, right? Where a lot of people sort of push themselves a little bit too much. And like you as a, previously pro athlete, you're not just in the ring the whole time, right? You're not fighting and doing all these things, right? You got to rest, you got to do things to reduce that, over time, especially if there's, these certain situations. So what are some tips, I guess, about managing stress and, preventing burnout to make sure that you can stay the distance?
Know yourself, for one. Um, Socrates actually said, know thyself. And it's so true, because if you don't, you will get yourself in a lot of trouble, especially if you're a dream-driven competitor. I know from personal experience. The other thing is know who's in your corner. Know the people who are going to tell you, hey, you probably should get some rest, or hey, you're looking like you're a little bit worn out. One of my clients, it was hilarious because I was just really, really tired, and she could tell I was really, really tired. And she goes, Coach, you need to go to bed. I didn't want to go to bed, but I knew I needed to go to bed. And I'm like, fine, I'll go to bed. But that's the way that it goes sometimes. Like, even the people that you coach, sometimes they'll coach you, because I like to push the envelope. I like to burn the candle from both ends sometimes, and it gets me in trouble. And it takes my team and my resources to say, probably should take a break now.
Yeah. Love that, mate. So true. And yeah, I stopped drinking caffeine myself from a while now, for many years. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm now in tune with how I feel much more, because I think a lot of people can just go, I'll just have the coffee or the tea or something and just keep going, and not realize,
That's
right?
that's such a good point. Yeah, that's a great point. Because if you have the stimulants, you're like, I'm good. I'm fine. I've been up for 3 days. I don't know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, it's but then and then after, when you stop, you're like, shit, what do I feel like that? I feel like a ton of bricks and I can't get out of bed for 2 days. Yeah, so you gotta have the balance, right?
Yes,
So I think
100%.
yeah, being aware, I think it's a big thing as well, which I love that as well. So now, I guess with being a leader, the way I see it, there's a couple of different approaches, right? And you got left brain and right brain people, the left brain logical, the right brain more emotive type people, or, maybe intuitive is another word there for them. And I guess it's good to have both sometimes, because you need to, know the analytical side, but maybe have some intuition, and being situationally aware is probably a good word in situations. So how do you balance that and making sure people have that awareness in what they're doing with what's happening with with their team around them?
So the thing that supports me the most as I go through this journey, I have 2 eyes, 2 ears, 1 mouth. And I know if I listen twice as much as I talk, and I look for what to look for, and I also know I'm not doing this by myself. If the leader holds the mission, they hold the vision, but everyone's going to the same vision. And it's up to me there's top to bottom, bottom to top, and say everyone's equally important through this whole process. I kind of look at it from a body standpoint is, yes, the brain keeps you alive, the heart keeps you alive, the lungs, like your organs are very important, but everything else is important too. And taking the time to say, oh, I'm not doing this all by myself. I have a vision and I'm holding the vision, but I'm not just holding it for me, I'm holding it for everybody. And when I hold it for everyone, we're all in the same team and we're all on the same page. So now I'm not doing it by myself. I think that's what true leadership is saying, hey, we're not doing this by ourselves. We're holding a vision and we're doing it together as a team.
Yeah, definitely love that. And that's reminds me of the book, Who Not How. Have you read that book before?
I have, yes.
Yeah, great book. It's a great
It's
way of
amazing.
thinking differently, I guess, from the school system of how compared to who, right? And being in that leadership team environment as well.
Yeah, 100%.
Definitely. So let's now shift a bit to the heart side of things now, which is equally as important as the mind. Now, I guess when I think of heart, empathy comes up to me. So what are your thoughts around empathy? As a leader, and I guess how to practice it, with our team.
So I think empathy is such a crucial piece because it allows you to understand the other side. And when you can understand someone, even if you're attempting to understand them, you have a chance at serving them. But if you don't even understand them, you're not gonna see them eye to eye. It's gonna create a barrier, and it's gonna be really hard for them, and it's gonna be hard for you. I believe I read this on Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad Poor Dad, and he said if you try and teach a pig how to sing, well, the pig's going to be frustrated and not learn how to sing, and you're going to be frustrated too. And no, I'm not calling anyone a pig, but what I'm saying is don't try and get people to do things that either they're not capable of doing or they just don't want to do it. And don't want to do it is, are they not talented enough to do it, or do they just not want to do it? And if they don't want to do it, why? Are they not holding the vision? What's going on with that? And that's another story altogether. But empathy is about taking the time to see that person's side. And the cool thing is, when you see their side, they'll be more inclined to see yours.
Yeah, definitely love that, mate. And I remember there was a good saying there that, growing up, it was treat people how you want to be treated. However, the better way is treat people how they want to be treated, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
And that's where that empathy can come in, and understanding. And it's a little bit more, as I think about it, maybe about the personality, of different people that can be different. Like there might be things like disc profiling or other things like that, just being aware as a leader that everybody is not the same in that way there. So what are your thoughts around, I guess, profiling teams and understanding how people are working so that you can get, the most out of them, towards the vision and mission?
That's the beauty of it too. It's the beauty of culture. And I actually didn't know how powerful culture was. And I mean, culture is always happening, whether we know that it's happening or not. It's just up to how intentional we are with what we're doing. And I look at like a great football team. And a great football team, you got to get all the pieces right. You got to get the right coaches. You got to get the right players on the field. You got to get the right mission involved. You got to get even the right crowd. Sometimes you're not just playing a team and their coaches, you're playing the crowd. And I've known that from both football and wrestling. When you go against Iowa, you're not just going against the Iowa team, you're going against the Iowa crowd too. And it's quite intimidating. But wow, you want to talk growing your confidence muscle. Nothing grows your confidence like getting screamed and yelled at about how you're going to get crushed. And when you can show up in something like that. But the culture is always happening. And so it's being really intentional with saying like, okay, are these the right fits? Because sometimes like the people who challenge us, that is the healthiest thing you can have. You want to be challenged. And that's where the the positivity can get almost not good, because if you're saying like, oh well, I should just be happy all the time and just smiling all the time and life should be great and no one should ever challenge me, like, okay, good luck with that. Like, that's probably, you're not going to grow in the way that you need to grow. And some people who are going to bump up against you, but they're going to make you a better you and you actually make them a better them. Iron sharpens iron. You know, that's the first thing that comes to mind when I even think about that. But say like, okay, how strong do I want to be and what do I want to create? And where am I willing to go to create this thing that I'm looking to create?
Yeah, awesome. Love that as well. And let's talk about emotional intelligence, because I think this is a really big one as a leader and being in business there as well. So do you want to talk a little bit more about, you know, the importance of emotional intelligence in leadership and maybe an example, you know,
Yeah,
about
yeah.
how we can do it as well?
You know, I feel they all go hand in hand, and what I mean by that, I had a mentor that I'm working with, and he says there's the spiritual side, the mental side, the emotional side, and the physical side. And when we take care of all four, we become as complete as we can be. So we become optimal. And in that optimization, emotions is being able to handle those damn things. And I really mean those damn things, because they can flip on a dime. Like, you'll feel a certain way about something. And that is why I love fighting so much, because fighting just gives you the result no matter what you do, no matter how mad you are, or how sad you are, or how happy you are, or how whatever you are. You still have to keep that composure. And I think that's what emotional intelligence is. It's being able to keep composure even when you want to react. And there's my fifth principle, it talks about extreme responsibility. And I call that extreme respond to your ability. What is your ability? And if you react, that's all good, because you can get better at it. You can learn from that and say, okay, why did that happen? And how do I not have that happen again? How do I show up better to this situation to get the actual result that is better for everybody?
Yeah, I love that. So true. And yeah, I love these sporting analogies. It brings me back to my soccer and tennis.
Yeah.
You know, growing up as well. It's such good lessons for people in there, and how it translates right to success there, and then obviously as a leader in business as well. So love all of that too. And I guess, you know, we've got to be able to motivate, right, and inspire our team as well as a leader, because it can drop off, you know, for various reasons at times. So what are some tips you can give us around it, you know, inspiring and motivating, you know, our team to achieve their best on the journey?
You know, this is the craziest thing, because I would have never guessed it would have been this. Listen to them. That's it. Ask questions and really actually listen. They want to talk. People are like, they're craving it more than they've ever been craving it actually now. And as I'm going through it, I'm like, wow, you know, we never really asked the question, hey, how are you doing? Hey, how's family life going? How are you liking the job? How are you enjoying yourself? What are your plans? And I say it kind of shocks me, because I like doing that. That's very fun to me. Um, but I always thought people needed something else. Like, they need that rah-rah speech, but they don't. They just need to be listened to. Because when they're listened to and they get to talk and actually let it out, they feel free again. They feel like they can dream again. I started looking, I go, oh my goodness, holy crap. We don't do that in school. We don't sit back and say, hey, how are you guys liking the lesson? Are you enjoying it? Is it fun? Nope. All right. Turn to chapter 13. And today we're going to be talking about. I'm like, oh, yeah. Okay. Now that kind of makes sense. No wonder people are kind of bitter that I'm not going to go into a tangent on it, but People want to be listened to, ultimately.
Yeah, love that, man. They're really, really powerful. And I guess this is the power of understanding some coaching skills, right? We're both coaches. We've learned how to ask great questions to get great, outcomes and breakthroughs, I guess, for our clients. But even you don't have to be a coach, but, you've got to have the ability to coach in a way, your team out of these areas, right? To ask the right questions to fulfill those. So I love that part too. Awesome. So let's switch to the skills side of things now, which obviously is important. Now, most people just think of this when they hire someone, but obviously the other elements are very important as well. But I guess as a leader, what are some of the key skills do you believe that we should be developing to be a great leader?
For leadership specifically, the ability to listen and the ability to effectively communicate. And you mentioned, because it was great, the golden rule: treat people the way you want to be treated. The platinum rule: treat people the way they want to be treated. This shocked the heck out of me. We are so complicated as human beings, and this is what I mean by that. I've been married for 17 years, and me and my wife are getting this game right and wrong, because it's a game of harmony. Like, it doesn't, we made it to the top, it's perfect, there are no mistakes. It's a game of harmony, it's a dance. But I remember, see, I've been in personal development since I've been 19. I'm 43 now, and I know my blueprint, because I like to introspect and just look within. I like to reflect on myself and see. So I literally, I gave her what my blueprint was, and I swear she said, "This blueprint's stupid, it doesn't work," and ripped it up. Just like, and I'm like, all right, well, get ready to get the results you don't want to get then. And that's what happened. And we did this for years. And we get better and better as we do it, because the beauty of leadership is the more challenges you have, you can actually step up. It just gives you the opportunity to step up. And when we had our 7-year-old, and we have our 3-year-old now, we had to get better, because the old versions of us wasn't good enough to handle that. We couldn't handle the extra pressure. So we had to learn to leverage effectively. So she started listening to me better. I started listening to her better too. It was a game where I'm like, I'm thankful for my children for giving me the challenge. And I remember Jim Rome, and it sticks in my head. It's one of those things. Don't wish it were easier. Wish you were better. And it's just something that you got to repeat to yourself. You put in those reps, you strengthen that muscle. And I'm like, all right, don't wish it was easier. It's not going to get easier anyway. So there's really no point. Just wish you were better. And so I ultimately focus on, how do I be my best me? And it's simply listening and communicating. It's the same thing as, how do I get in shape? Eat right and exercise. But again, easier said than done, because we all know what we're supposed to be doing. Like, people, even if I said, yeah, you should listen and communicate, I am listening, I am communicating. What are you talking about? Okay.
Yeah, I love that. There were so many great points that you just shared there, and congrats on being married, for a long time, and having the kids,
Thank you.
I've been married for 6 years now, and no kids
Very
just
nice.
yet, but that is on the plan soon, and yeah, I've heard a lot about being able to step up, and I love that point about, yeah, don't wish things were easier, wish you were better, and I think what I've heard from high level people is that is look for the higher level problems to solve. Don't just solve the small problems, right? The easy ones just because you want to solve it. It's what's the higher level problem, because if I solve that, that's when you can create a massive shift or a massive success in what you're doing as well.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I love that, man. Very, very powerful. So I guess everyone's normally got goals, right? Like we've got the plan in place that you were talking about, and we're moving towards that. How do you look at that in terms of like performance evaluation, like how we're doing, to ourselves as well as maybe with our team, either one or both, to make sure that I guess we're on track, right? And then
Yeah.
how do we be honest on how how we're going with them as well?
Yeah. So there's a saying, if it's measured, it's managed. And I'll tell you, sometimes people don't like measuring things because they're managing it so poorly. But it's the right thing to do, whether you want to do it or not, right? And so what I do is I look at the numbers. I go, oh, this is a game of numbers. Now there's one guy specifically, Myron Golden is his name, and he created a book called Boss Moves. And he goes, in 4 moves you can change your life. And one of those moves is, okay, how many leads are you generating? How many people are you bringing into the pipeline? And then how many of them are you converting? And then from there, how many of them are you retaining? And how many of them are you bringing into your membership? And that was so freeing to me, because when I first started this journey, I thought I was doing really good. I think everyone thinks they're doing really good when they start anything new, because they're like, oh, I'm doing it. And I remember I was speaking on the stage, and I I had the audience entranced. I was doing really, really good. And one of the guys looks, he's like, what did you do? And I go, what? What did I do? Like, what did I do? He's like, you had him hanging on every word. I go, I did have him hanging on every word, didn't I? He goes, and you didn't give him a call to action. I go, crap, I didn't give him a call to action. And it's one of those things, you don't know where you're messing up when you're doing it, because you only know what you know. And when people point it out to you, you're like, oh crap, oh, I messed up here, oh, I messed up over here, oh, I didn't do this over here. That speech that I did, as much fun as I had, I didn't get to have the transformational relationships that I could have with some of those people, because I didn't give them the call to action to say, if you want more of what it is that I offer, if you want to connect at a deeper level, let's connect. And that's where we're going to get it right sometimes, and we're going to get it wrong sometimes. But as long as we're keeping track and saying, okay, what am I measuring and why am I measuring these things, so that I can adjust it and that I can at least get it better. And sometimes you can get so good, you can actually turn off the lead generator, because you're like, you're crushing it. You're in the position that you need to be, and you don't need more leads in your pipeline.
Yeah, love that, mate. So great on the simple numbers side of things, as well as the measuring and the managing, and achieving what we want to achieve. So great overall business leadership. That was a really awesome one. And one thing you've been talking about a lot today, and I believe it's important as well, as coaching, mentoring, right? With yourself, on how you've got external people as well, right? It's not just the clients that we're helping, right? We have coaches and mentors, obviously ourselves, for us to get better. So how important has coaching, mentoring, been for you in your business? What has helped you to achieve?
It's such a crucial part. And what was kind of hard for me in my entrepreneurial journey, good leaders are good followers as well. Like, that's what I've seen to be the trend. And if you're following a bad leader, that's not necessarily like the best route to go. And as I've gone through my journey, I've gotten even better at asking the right questions to see who's good and who's bad at what they do. There's some really not good coaches, and there's some excellent coaches too. And so I give that as a reminder to people as they go through their journey. Some people have just gotten excellent coaches. They're really good at that. Some people, maybe they started their entrepreneurial journey when they were young, so they know what to look for. I was an athlete. I didn't know what to look for. I didn't know which questions to ask. But I do know with resilience, as we were talking about, you figure it out. You put it together and you start figuring it out. And what I figured out was you're not going to go very far without having an excellent coach. You just won't. But you also have to be an excellent you as well. Like you can have the greatest coach in the world, and if you're playing at a 5, you're going to get 5 results. And you can play at a 10 and have a 5-level coach, you're going to get average results. But when you can get the 2 together, the 10 coach and the 10 you get to shock the world, and that's a lot of fun.
Yeah, awesome, mate. Love that. Completely agree on how my coaches and mentors have been instrumental to my growth and success. And it's really a shortcut, right? Like, we could probably figure these things out, but it could take us years, and we only get a certain amount of time in this world. So I think it's important to get there as quickly as possible, right? Instead of being mediocre for too long. We want to get to where we want to be.
Level up. We're about to level up.
Definitely, man. I love it. And it's been a very powerful episode, man. So much gold here today that you've shared. And I guess as we're wrapping up, what one key piece of advice would you like to give to everyone watching and listening today?
Yeah. First, I want to thank you for having me on, Nathan. It was an absolute pleasure. My one piece of advice: remember what your dream is and why you dreamt it in the first place. And if you've already accomplished it, then dream even bigger and go after a bigger one. Why? Because it's fun.
Love it, man. Simple and effective and so true, right? Because that's going to be the thing that keeps you going, right? When the challenging times
100%.
are there.
100%.
So really love it, man. And it has been a pleasure, man. We connected through our networks. I learned about your awesome journey from, being a pro athlete and fighting in the UFC cage as well, to now being, an effective executive and leadership coach as well through your Starks transformational coaching and the fighters formula that you've developed. You're awesome guy, so knowledgeable and real and authentic. It's been a great way to share, and I'm sure you continue to help people, get fit in their life and their business. They can live the life that they've always dreamed of, and very grateful that we connected and look forward to working further with you. So Clifford, how can people find you, get in contact with you?
Yeah. So they can connect with me either on LinkedIn under Clifford Starks, on Facebook under Clifford Starks, and I also do have a archetype quiz under the fightersformula.com. So you can also take that fighters formula quiz and see who you are, see how you show up in the world.
Awesome. Love that. Definitely check out Clifford there on social media and the Fighters Formula there with that quiz. It sounds like it'd be really awesome, and then know where you're at and where you need to go to that next level. So it's been a pleasure interviewing you, mate. And thank you for being on the Business Growth Show.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for watching and listening to this show where we talk about everything on business growth. And please like, subscribe, and leave us a 5-star review. You can find me on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube as Ethan Cassiotis, or visit my website, ethancassiotis.com. If you want to grow and scale your business, you can reach out to me on any platform to see if we're a good fit. I completely agree with you, or do I? The only way you know is if you tune in next time. So until next time, remember that our business grows when we learn skills and take action using them in spite of fear. So remember to design your growth and results.